people require proof, if people look for proof of the empirical understanding of consciousness by seeking them in outside materials, they are not ever going to find such proof. If scientists, and all people for that matter, have questions, then they need not look any further than the thing that is doing the looking. No one in the science of consciousness or Eastern philosophy is asking anyone to believe anything with blind faith. This goes against everything that Eastern philosophy and the science of consciousness is about. It's never accepted by anyone else's experience, but only by your own experience. And if anyone says that they have truly probed consciousness, and that their experience revealed that consciousness is but an inconsequential byproduct of form, a hallucination, and that the real fundamental truth of reality is matter and appearance, it only reveals that said person did not explore, question, and observe consciousness deep enough, or that their attachment to body enslavement and identification is just too strong of an association to let go of. This would be much the same as a person saying to a material scientist that they have explored chemistry and found that it was all a lie. You would know that they did not do sufficient testing and study. So how does awareness make consciousness possible? What makes up awareness? Well, first off, consciousness makes awareness possible, not the other way around. Consciousness makes up awareness. Consciousness is what makes us aware of our own awareness. In short, consciousness makes up everything. One of the problems people have with grasping this is that they only associate consciousness with a brain. People define consciousness as something relegated exclusively to an organism wired into a brain firing neurons. But when we speak of consciousness here, we are speaking about the fabric of everything, the formless nothing that takes form, an ocean of potential and possibilities that vibrates unto itself, creating patterns and waves. So for the purposes of this specific discussion, let's scratch the word consciousness and use the word energy instead. What is energy similar to? Nothing, in both senses of the definition. Similar to no thing, and similar to nothingness itself. So it wouldn't be an accurate characterization to say that it is a ghost in the machine. Energy is everything and nothing. Energy is awareness, and it is self-aware. Is there evidence that energy has awareness? It would seem so, since everything is energy, including awareness, and awareness was produced by energy. So how do we know that awareness, or a frame of reference, exists apart from a brain? Because energy is everything, and anything that is said to be existing is made so because energy made it so. And the way energy knows it is so is because energy is aware of itself. To say that matter exists independent of awareness is like saying that things can be produced without a source. There is a source, and this source is the imagination of a wholeness that experiences its own imagination. Can there be a painting without a painter? Can there be a dream without a dreamer? Can there be anything observed without an observer? And it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense, is paradoxical or illogical. Understand that reason, common sense, and logic are limited tools, crutches, that only apply to limited applications. They will not be able to apply to all things within the infinite wholeness. They will fail miserably outside their boundaries of application, in much the same way that one would not be able to understand, handle, or apply logic within an instinct awareness framework. So should we measure this self-aware energy via quantum mechanics? Yes, even though we don't fully understand quantum mechanics yet, if we follow where it is leading us, letting go of old associations and conventional paradigms that really only serve as confining restraints, we will be fluid and free enough to make the discoveries that will confirm the observation of whole self-reflection. A working dualism is only a limited operating system that functions in denial of non-duality. There is no duality, even though it appears to function and work. It is only an appearance, a discrimination and distinction only made possible by imagined differences or separations. From this discriminating perspective, of course, matter appears to be real, seeming to have the quality of realness only because there is a discriminating perspective to imagine it so to begin with. Imagination gives birth to division, and from this comes the appearance of form. Belief in division and the appearance of form brings death to the imagination. Matter is not real or solid, no matter how you slice it. Recently, even science is beginning to see this. Matter has been accepted as real for a while, but so what? In the past, many things have been accepted by a majority and have turned out to be false. And it doesn't matter if even the biggest doubters in the world also embrace it. Doubters are not a good representation of an explorer of experience. What makes them doubt is that they are primarily concerned with beliefs based on words and ideas, not knowledge based on experience. If one is experiencing things directly, there is only knowledge based on knowing of experience. There is no belief or doubt. A majority of people once believed the earth was flat. We now know better. There is no honor or glory resting on and clinging to what is accepted and conventional. Discoveries are great when they are fresh and useful, but when they are nested upon, they become traps and chains. In time, they turn stagnant and become burdens. The cutting edge of the imagination is where true great explorers and real scientists reside. Matter is indeed unstable because that's what it ultimately is. It was never really stable. It is forever changing form that eventually changes into states of non-matter. All matter will recycle and return to its original essence as energy. Matter does not create energy. Energy creates matter. Matter, form, and all appearances all have creation and destruction. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. From changes of energy, the constant, always so, matter does indeed pop into existence. And gravity is just a force created and utilized by energy to accomplish the self-contained process of expansion and contraction. Saying otherwise would be like saying that figments of an imagination exist independent of an imagination. No, all things imagined must first be imagined, and anything imagined is simply imagined into existence. It pops into being, having been given creation this way. All things of existence, creation, and imagination are all energy dependent. Even the laws of cause and effect, action, reaction, are all creations of and dependent on energy. Energy is not bound to the laws that it creates unto itself. Energy is not limited by anything. It can do anything it wants. Its limits are the limits of the imagination. It creates laws, but it is ultimately not bound to those laws. If it appears that it is bound to a law, it is only because it has temporarily set it up that way. So never mind any fact. Energy is not bound by facts. Energy creates temporary facts, but it is not ultimately bound to them. So getting back to this common doubt that reality is a construct of consciousness, or that is to say that reality is a construct of energy, without a doubt this is the case. Without energy there would be no reality, since energy is awareness itself, and every object or perceptible within reality is a construct of energy. It is only the awareness that lends any kind of idea of realness. Matter plays no part in creating the realness. Matter is but an inventory item within the spectrum of what we're calling real. So of course energy is not dependent on matter, organic or inorganic, to be aware. So therefore the brain, whether dreaming or in the so-called waking state, does not produce the awareness of consciousness, but rather points of perception simply become tied or anchored to form in order to receive gratification, and through this illusion of separation imagines itself to be an individual object, and thereby through this process body enslavement begins. But in truth, the brain, neurons, serotonin, melatonin, and DMT play no part in producing the awareness of consciousness. Energy produces not only awareness, but everything else, including body, brain, space, world, and universe. Now, as for shape and location, no one is denying evolution, but evolution is yet another temporary relative system that was constructed by energy, but does not rule energy. But all in all, there is no shape and location. There is only energy that measures itself and thereby takes on illusionary appearances. There is no Grand Canyon or universe filled with separated objects. These are mere reflected projections of energy. An expanding universe doesn't explain or lend any kind of realness to anything. It is yet but another construct system of energy that, again, does not rule energy. Getting back to the tree that fell in the forest, if we enter a forest and see a tree laying on the ground, if there was no perception present to see or hear the tree falling, how do we know it really fell? When measured and observed, all there is a present condition of what's being interpreted as a tree. The tree didn't fall. A falling tree is composed of layers of perception. There must be a visualization of a tree falling, accompanied by the sound of it falling, in order for there to be a falling tree. If one does not perceive these events as they happen, they never happened in the context of the labels of the mind that are received through the interpretations of perception. A tree isn't even really a tree. What we are calling a tree is but a vibration of energy. Through the senses, we convert this vibration into a label. When we begin to deconstruct these labels, to experience and know energy directly, this is what could be referred to as a sixth sense, or the third eye. This experience is not conveyed through any of the five senses. The senses are the senses. There is never any augmentation of the senses. Our senses don't really expand or become greater in scope or size. Only our consciousness can expand. And this is the third eye, not dependent on any sense to exist. Augmented senses, even if such were possible, wouldn't expand consciousness anyway. It is not the data that expands consciousness, but discovering what's behind the data. The senses can only indirectly assist consciousness in its expansion, but the senses themselves do not contain any wisdom or knowledge. This could also be called mind expansion. Mind is just another word for consciousness, and consciousness is just another word for energy. And so the mind isn't what the brain does. The brain is just a manifestation of conscious energy to create an illusion of realness and separation. But this is just an illusion, containing no real everlasting substance. Through signals of energy, awareness becomes conscious of its mind, and then associates this mind with a brain. In short, there is no thing to understand or know. The only thing that we could call a substance of potentiality is energy. Matter and form are actualizations that are actually not actual. So there really are no special kinds of matter. When you boil it down, it's all made out of the same stuff, energy. The substance of energy could be described as constant change. The changes of matter, for so long as there is matter manifested, is really the only actual thing that is forever and constant about it. We can try to label these changes with different classifications, but there is no truth in any of these classifications. These are only distinctions that are attempting to systemize constant change, and constant change has no rules or system that it must conform to. Constant change conforms to no laws other than constant change. Nothing about it is reliable, predictable, or routine. Even cause and effect, what we could call a universal law, is not an all-encompassing, always so constant. It is so, but only within a limited temporary context. Nature is another force energy uses to express itself. It could be defined as a system of laws, but these laws are not always the same or permanent. So it would be inaccurate to say that nature operates only one way and for only one purpose. Through energy, nature is unlimited in the ways it can be set up to contextualize. Nature is simply a governing system, limited in what it governs, but unlimited in the different ways it can govern. But even nature does not govern energy. Nothing governs energy but energy itself. And so this infinity of constantly changing energy is indeed potential and never actual. It is boundless and therefore not contained within anything. There is no inner motionless boundary to contain it. Being contained within nothing, it cannot be said to be existing anywhere. It is nothing, yet at the same time it is everything. There is no time in it. There is no space in it. Only imagination of such things. Imagination of different types of changes when in fact there is only simply change. This infinite, boundless, unchanging, constant change is the unmoved mover, the formless form in the non-existent existence. Therefore, nothing exists, and within this nothingness exists everything.